Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Developer Chat here at Privateer Press. February 13th, I do believe. I've been trying not to look at the calendar because yesterday was the 12th, right?
Nope.
What day is it?
It's the 12th.
It is the 12th? Whew. Welcome. Oh, Tony's pointing up at the notes we have where it says Staff Showdown February 12th. Tony! But anyway.
Touche, sir.
Welcome.
But didn't you announce the staff showdown yesterday?
It happened yesterday.
But you announced it yesterday, and you probably said a different date.
Who knows? I'm Will Hungerford, lead developer here at Privateer Press, and with us is development assistant Faye Reppes. How's it going, Faye?
Hi.
Oz is out today, so Faye and I are going to be rocking this Riot Quest themed dev chat for all of you. But if you've never watched this before, I want to tell you about our streaming schedule, because we stream at least twice a week. Every Wednesday is dev chat, some combination of myself, Oz, and Faye, on to talk about Monster Apocalypse, War Machine, Riot Quest, soon in the near future, Warcaster.
Yep.
And what's going on with the games and just sort of like rules discussions, rules spoilers, and everything gameplay related. On Thursdays at 10 a.m. is Jordan Lamb's show, Get Your Paint On, where Jordan paints the models we make and answers your hobby questions and shows you new techniques. And then there are two semi-regular shows. We just had a staff showdown yesterday. That's where we get on and play the games we make. The next one will be February 25th. Tony, do you happen to know what game's being played on that one yet? We don't have that information ready. It could be anything. It could be Infernal Contraption. It could be Grind Mark II. It could be War Machine. Who knows? And Hobby Hangout will be on the 21st. That is Brian McLaughlin and Danny Samuel's show, where they do things like converting models, building terrain, and showing you the finer tips about like cleaning models and actually building and assembling them, because there's a lot of stuff to learn.
Yeah. After this morning's discussion, we should definitely cancel Danny.
Yeah, but keep Brian.
Yeah, that's correct.
Absolutely. Now, if you are watching us, you can usually catch us on Facebook or Twitch, and if you ever miss a show, catch us on YouTube afterwards. But on Twitch, we do take subscriptions. It's a way to show a little support and a little love, and in return, you unlock a bunch of cool emojis and a subscriber badge. So you can subscribe today, get those unlocked, and show how cool you are by dropping all your emojis in the chat. Also, if you sub, you get no ad viewing, which is pretty sweet. Tony, just jumping right to the mini crate. I think that was the most natural and smooth segue we could have had, so let's just do it. Over on the mini crate side of things, Medusionia is still available for another week. If you sign up within the next week, your next mini crate model will be an alternate Absolonia 1, a sweet Clash of the Titans style Medusionia. And at the same time, the VIP model is going to swap over. The Transfer Dancer. So if you're looking to get the Transfer Dancer, which is when you sign up for 6 months, this is the last week to do so. Have we shown the new VIP model for War Machine yet, Tony? I honestly don't remember. I don't know that we have. We might have. We'll know soon enough.
I'm 90% sure we have.
I think we have, but I can't remember. Over on the Legend of the Five Rings mini crate, we've got a new model. Boyushi Kyo just became available and is available until March 5th. And this is just like the Oni mask, the whole look of it, the blade in his hand, just a great looking figure. So if you're looking to pick him up, you can sign up on mini-crate.com/L5R. The VIP model for that mini crate is still Tengu Sensei, and that's available until May 5th. So you still got a little bit of time on that one. A little bit more pressing is the Savage mini crate. That's the work of Robert E. Howard. Conan the Barbarian, not Conan on the Throne, just regular Conan. Today is the last day. If you do not sign up today, you will not get a Conan, and we will never make any more.
When is the last day, Hungerford?
February 12th, the same day as the staff showdown, Tony. The VIP model right now is Red Sonja. You've got till the summer to pick her up, but you might as well do the 6-month sub because you're at the start of a cycle. This is the beginning of basically the second cycle of Savage, and if you do a 6-month sub today, you'll get this Conan, you'll get the Red Sonja, you'll get the next one, you'll get the entire second cycle. So, that's all the news I think we have to announce, right? Back to us.
Yeah.
So, today is a Riot Quest themed dev chat. What we're going to end up talking about, we're going to talk about the Hull Grinder map, which we have in stock and is shipping out very soon. And we are going to show you all the rules for the cards that come in the Riot Quest gear expansion that releases next month. For a lot of these, Riot Quest models have both their Riot Quest rules and then their separate War Machine and Hordes rules, and we would spoil both at the same time. The Gear expansion does not have any War Machine and Hordes rules. These are just models and play pieces for your games of Riot Quest. Though I will say, if you are a player of both games and you pick up the Gear expansion, these models don't come with bases. They don't need them. They just sit in spaces. But there's no reason you can't put them on a base if you wanted to. In Riot Quest, that has no effect. Base sizes mean nothing in Riot Quest. Like, if you didn't play War Machine at all and you didn't care about your base sizes, you didn't have to base your models, or you could put them on, clear hex space bases. I'm sure someone makes those, right?
I could also see Best Boy 9000 as a mini jack.
Yeah, you could absolutely do that. But they make some good models to convert with if you play War Machine and Hordes, and also they make really great objectives. So if you are playing War Machine and Hordes, feel free to drop them on a base and use them as your 50 mil objectives in your Steamroller games. There's nothing saying that you can't do that. But before we get into all that cool stuff, let's talk about the Hole Grinder map. Tony, bring up the Hole Grinder map. Oh, I got the hold.
What?
I got the.
No.
Wait, it's happening?
Boom. There we go.
Tony never fails. So we showed Hole Grinder months ago, many months ago, and there were some very unfortunate delays in the production of the map. Just stuff, honestly, outside of our control.
Yeah.
It happens. There's not much you can do about it, but it has finally arrived. We have it in-house, and it is shipping out later this month to stores and distributors. So this is the second map for Riot Quest, which will be followed shortly, I think it's May, by the third map for Riot Quest. So get ready for some back-to-back map action.
Yeah.
That is difficult to say.
Somebody just talking about the Thunderhead Fortress. We did get a resupply of that as well.
Yeah, we did get a resupply.
Should be going back through soon.
Yeah, because Thunderstone Fortress, you get the poster map in the starter box, but we made neoprenes of it as well because neoprene maps are just so nice. So those sold out basically immediately. The demand for Riot Quest has been really strong and keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And for all the accessories too, like the maps and stuff.
Yeah.
So we blew through those. And more are heading their way out. But I want to talk about this map today. If you've played Thunderstone Fortress, you know it's more of just a round gladiatorial arena. The idea being that for your starter game, you don't want too many weird aspects of movement and the map design. You want people to understand the basics of how to play the game.
Right.
So you want the most vanilla version of the map.
Yeah.
I will say that in the next starter, when Wintertime Wasteland comes out, the map in that one will be different than Thunderstone Fortress, but it will be similarly laid out. It will be another big gladiatorial arena because all the starter maps will always be that way because a lot of people, that will be their jumping on point to the game.
Right.
And we don't want to do really crazy stuff.
There'll be snow.
There'll be
That'll
snow, but it won't be a new hex type. They're just
No.
like the obstacle terrain spaces will be snowish.
Yeah.
So Hole Grinder, though, we went with something completely different. So you have basically two segregated areas of the board. You have two ships that are were passing in the night, but then got shipwrecked. And there's all kinds of insanity happening on the map. There's crab obstacle spaces.
Yep, that's my favorite obstacle. I don't know how anyone can stand on those crabs. I don't know how it's possible.
Well, Helga on Wheels can just sit there and rev her engines and spew crabs back out of the back of her motorcycle the whole time. Leadfoot and Treads don't care.
Okay, all right. They just spread crabs.
Yeah,
everywhere.
but you have to
I
imagine like Dez. Dez has her heavy armor, so when she stands in the crabs, she's just like, she's just
Whatever.
grunting. But Gubbin is screaming the whole time. Like Eris is like, take cover, and so he runs for the first thing he sees, and he dives into a pile of crabs. And then he comes out, just crabs all over him, and like one crab has a stick of dynamite, and Gubbin is just screaming at the top of his lungs. So the map is segregated into two spaces with half of the spawn gates on each ship. And then there are basically three ways to cross ships. There's three gangplanks, which Tony's going to highlight right here. An interesting thing is that in the original testing, it was just one big gangplank that was 3 hexes wide down the middle. But what it did is the people on the far ends of the ship had a really hard time of crossing unless you were either fast or could get the right gear to cross. And it was... Riot Quest is a very dynamic game, right?
Yeah.
It requires a lot of movement and a lot of just constantly flowing back and forth. And so you have to keep those avenues open while still letting the map play differently by allowing players to create choke points that then other people have to overcome. That becomes
Right.
your challenge. So doing the 3 gangplanks really, really fixed a lot of things. Also,
it would have just been Helga just driving across, back and forth.
just back and
just
forth
her.
constantly, or like Bella with hyperspring boots, just being like,
Yeah.
I'm over here now. It doesn't matter to me. Also, originally we had split the treasure beacons evenly between the two ships, but then we realized there was often no reason to go across the upper and lower gangplanks if you had easy access to the middle one. So we moved two of the treasure beacons into the water, basically, which Tony's going to highlight right there. And we found that makes some really tense fights on the gangplanks when,
Yes, it does.
Brain Snatcher or anything else, somebody has to go rig something occurring on the treasure beacon shows up. I don't know. What do you like about this map?
Well, number one, the thing I like most is just the entire art style, right? It's ridiculous. There's tentacle monsters coming out. There's explosions in the ship. It's great.
Yeah.
I love everything about the art style, but probably gameplay-wise, the thing that I like most is those three gangplanks.
Yeah.
It fundamentally changes the game.
It does.
Right, and it also makes things like the grind pillar super interesting, the grind ball super interesting.
All the new gear we're about to talk about.
All the new gear we're about to talk about.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of that in the game yesterday. Also, you only have 3 evacuation spots now, which is because the center of the map is always the Riot Quest logo, which you see is on a flag on the middle gangplank. And there's only 2 spaces adjacent to it. And when you evacuate at the end of a round, you can only evacuate off the center space or any space adjacent to it, but there's only 2.
Yeah.
So your evacuation opportunities are much, much lower.
And any objectives that deal with that center space are much more interesting.
Yeah. So the map will be shipping out soon. If those of you that had it on pre-order and have been waiting, it's coming very, very soon, basically as soon as it leaves the warehouse and gets out to local stores and distributors. Hanley asked, what is the art for Treasure Beacon 2? I'd have to take a closer look at it. I can't see it. It's too far away on the monitor from me right now. Tony, are you going to jump in? Tony.
Here it is.
Thanks. Wow, Tony, you are like crazy prepared today.
I know.
Let's see, Treasure
that's this
Beacon
one.
2. What is this? Oh, this is the fishing rod.
Yeah.
So, let's just... Yeah, so Treasure Beacon 2 is a gangplank mounted, like this one right here.
Yeah.
Like fishing rod, and I think it's caught something. Looks like it's got a bunch of stuff coming up on it. But you can see part of the rod, it's sort of like the crane arm going down. Basically, it's like a salvage arm fishing rod that's reaching down into the water to pull stuff back out.
Yeah.
Also on this map, on the very bottom, you can see it clearly on the screen now, the shark makes an excellent cooler when your heroes get knocked out.
I mean, how are they getting out of the shark? Are they blowing the shark up to get out of the cooler?
No, sometimes you just gotta claw your way out of a shark.
Okay, all right.
You know?
That makes sense.
It does. So that's going out soon. The main thing we want to talk about today is the gear expansion coming out next month. So before we start bringing up any of the rule spoilers, I kind of want to talk to everybody what this is. So Riot gear is obviously a big part of Riot Quest. You can always equip different heroes with one piece of gear, hyperspring boots, bang rounds, all the many different great things. With the grind ball and pillar expansion, we introduced a new style. What it is it's a gear card you can keep on your hero, and you can leave it there for as long as you want to, that you can spin during their activation. When you do, the gear card gets removed from the game. So it doesn't mean you can bring it back. And it lets you put a model into play associated with that gear card. So for example, the Portal to the Grindoverse gear card lets you put the grinder into play. Yeah. Every gear model has its own rules of whether or not it's considered neutral to all players, whether or not it joins your crew, how you interact with it, can you target it, can you attack it, or can it only be like maybe rigged. Each one's sort of unique. There's going to be some rules you're going to see across these cards we're about to show you that are kind of the same across, which is the rules like indestructible or destructible, inanimate or animate. When you see them, it looks like a lot of text at first, but once you read it and you see that those keep repeating on all the cards, you understand how they work. What they really do is just indicate whether or not this is something you can target with an attack, if it belongs to someone's crew, if it considers other models to be enemies or not.
Right.
And that's just for the actual gameplay purpose of what the thing does.
Right.
The reason we made it be not just one card that you bought the card and just immediately dropped the thing into play and that was it, was that we wanted it to be an associated gear card because there's a lot of treasure effects that say equip a gear card for free. And there's a lot of bounties that say you get a bonus of some kind if you are equipped with gear.
Right.
So this lets people do something like equip the Portal to the Grindoverse card.
Right.
Hold it, run, go rig a bounty or something to get a bonus because they have gear on them. And then once they're done, they can spin that gear, unlike all other gear that can't really be spent, and then drop the grinder or whatever it is into play. So that's why it comes in two parts. There is a benefit for equipping it and not using it immediately. And in Riot Quest, where the situations are constantly changing, you never know when that might be useful.
Exactly.
So let's start looking at some of the new stuff. What we're going to do is we're going to show you the gear card first that puts something into play, mainly because I want to go over the cool art on each one of them. And then we'll go over the actual gear card so you can see what they do. So Tony, let's bring up the coin operating theater. So obviously it's a small packed together surgery table with a little coin slot on the front.
Yeah, it just costs one loot.
it costs two. You got to put two in it.
No, I mean one loot to engage. Well, yeah, it's 2 loot tokens, and then you engage.
Yeah, I like to imagine
a table of surgery.
I like to imagine the 2 loot tokens you're paying to get this thing are the ones you're actually plopping into the machine.
Sure, yeah, and
so
is it good that a surgery table is that price? Should we feel comfortable about surgery that only costs 2 loot coins?
It may not work out for you, as we'll see in so the idea with this thing is you get this thing, you pop the 2 coins in, you lay down, and it sort of unpacks, and then like the automated systems come up and just start working on you. If you've ever been in an old abandoned arcade, I want everyone to know that's what I'm thinking of. This is like the little horse out front that's making the noise and just sort of being like, but with needles and scalpels instead. And you're like, this wound hurts, clink, and then they're just like amputating. So when you use this card, you can place a surgery table in an unoccupied space adjacent to the model. If you do, you remove this Riot gear from the game. It doesn't go to this card pile. You're going to see every one of the gear cards, the Riot gear cards, basically says this. They're going to say during your activation, you could put the thing into play, then RFP this card. The reason it gets RFP'd is that with there being effects that bring cards back, we didn't want to put a player in a situation where they felt like they would have to own 4 surgery tables because they would be like, I put a surgery table out, I got my card back, I put a surgery table out, and it's too much craziness for even Riot Quest. Let's go ahead and look at the surgery table. So we'll see that surgery tables are kind of built like heroes. They're gray, they don't have a class or anything. Sometimes they'll have a speed, sometimes they'll have a def, sometimes they'll have stamina. So animate is one of the rules you'll see. The space this model occupies is a barrier space, like a spawn gate or treasure chest. It's not a hero and it doesn't activate, and it can only be put in play by its associated Riot gear card. When it's put in play, it joins the crew of the person who put it into play. So it doesn't count towards your 4 hero limit, but it is considered one of the models in your crew, which means everyone else is an enemy to it.
Right.
It's got destructible, which is a recurring one. It can be targeted and attacked by enemies. When it suffers damage equal to its stamina, it's removed from the arena. It doesn't go to the cooler. Players do not gain scrap from destroying it.
It would be very bad if you're spending something to put something into play that gives your opponent scrap.
Correct.
That would be pretty poopy.
It's def 1/8, so very easy to do a point of damage to, very difficult to super damage.
Yeah.
It's only got 2 stamina. And it's got medicine with a question mark. A hero adjacent to this model can spend an action die to heal. They roll a power die and they remove that much damage. However, if an enemy, and anyone can use the surgery table, friendly or foe, but if an enemy uses the surgery table, they get the same effect, but if they roll a miss, they get knocked out immediately. Because you put the surgery table in, you know it's got that weird glitch midway through the ride where you have to lean to the left, otherwise your hip gets removed. So you don't have a chance of being knocked out. But like when little Jimmy comes up and he's like, oh, my elbow hurts, and he puts 2 coins in, he might have a lobotomy on accident. So you have a 1 in 6 chance when you use it, you get murdered by the table. Another thing that most of them do, of course, is it's a barrier space. So talking about hole grinder, sometimes you just got to block a gangplank.
Yeah.
So just, here's a surgery table. Cheers.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. I believe, is it the Best Boy? Yes.
Best Boy 9000.
Best Boy 9000. Not new and improved, no longer explodes. During your activation, you can place a gobbler in an unoccupied space. When you do, you remove the card. The gobbler is the thing inside the box. And the Best Boy 9000 is basically the name of the product you're buying that the gobbler is within. So let's go ahead and take a look at the gobbler, who does some pretty crazy stuff. He's animate, which means he joins your crew. Right. He's destructible, which means he can be killed. He's def 5/6 with 2 stamina.
Not the easiest to destroy.
No, not at all. And he has a speed. And that's because his unique ability is roamer. When a hero in your crew activates, you can immediately move this model its speed. Gain any loot tokens it contacts, and raid any treasure chests it ends next to without spending an action die.
Yeah.
When this thing blows up and you kill it, put a loot token in every space around it. So it's a loot Roomba. It just runs around the arena just going like burp, 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 just getting loot for you. And it's every time one of your heroes activates. You choose someone to activate, Gobbler moves. Your opponents go, you choose someone to activate, Gobbler goes.
Yeah.
Just run it over to a treasure chest. Don't even spend an action die. Just open it and find out what's inside. So it is also a barrier space as well, but you get to move it.
Right.
So you have now a movable source of blocking people off, but also a way to go grab yourself some loot as well. Let's see, Striker's a question. Odd question. One of the immovable gear is brought into the center point of the map. How does that affect other objectives that spawn in the space? Tokens, bounty tokens, are unaffected by the spaces they're in. That's why the death trap, which can move into barrier spaces. That's why things like the malfunction token can be put into barrier spaces. Tokens don't occupy spaces. That's why players can move on to a token if they want to. So you could drop a pillar in the center space and the death trap could spawn there and then start moving away. Or you could spawn a pillar on top of something you need to rig, and that means you would have to get rid of the gear in some way to then go interact with something that might be in your way. That's one of the strengths.
Yeah, that's why all gear has at least some way to remove it from the table, or else we could potentially have the problem of like all of the objectives are sitting on a space nobody can get to.
Yeah, like if every player brings a gobbler, and you all brought gobblers out, and they're all just running around, and you could just box somebody in where they're like, I can't move. I'm surrounded by gobblers. Roberto asking on Facebook, what game is this? We're talking about the new gear expansion for Riot Quest. Is what we're going over today. We're going over the rules of the new models coming out. So let's go. Oh, another question Tony highlighted. So if you need extra loot and it's about to die, can you murder your own loot Roomba? No, because it says it joins your crew. One of the core rules of Riot Quest is you are not allowed to make attacks against your own crew unless a rule specifically says so. Gubbin's Explosion says you target one model, which has to be an enemy, and then your roll targets everyone adjacent to them, and it says in the rule, this includes friendlies.
Yeah.
So no, you can't buy a gobbler, put it into play, then beat him to death with a hammer and pull all the quarters out. That's not okay.
But Gubbin can destroy him, so you could set it up to get Gubbin to destroy him. You could send your own death trap after him. You could do, there's some things that you can do, but it's not very common.
The gobbler is sentient and it has feelings. It understands pain and depression.
Oh my God.
So I want you to know that when it dies, its last words are, wait, I love you. And then loot spews out of it.
Oh no.
Don't kill your own gobbler. Let's move on to the next one, Tony.
Oh no.
We saw this one used to great effect over on the stream yesterday. This is the gate bait, which has some of my favorite art whatsoever.
I love this art. Oh God.
Here's your nails, here's your props, here's a piece of plywood. Nail it in, prop it up, don't kill your friend. The gate bait basically says during your activation, you can place a decoy gate in an occupied space. Let's go ahead and look at the decoy gate. So this is a model that doesn't have a def and it doesn't have a stamina, and this has inanimate. Inanimate says the space this model occupies is a barrier space, like all of them. It's not a hero, it's not an enemy, and it's not part of anyone's crew. Right. So this does not join your crew. It also is indestructible. It cannot be targeted or damaged. So the first two we saw, joined your crew, could be attacked by enemies, could be blown up. This one can't be. So these kind all have a rule somewhere in their main what they do that says how you can get rid of them since you can't attack them.
Right.
Misdirection says this model cannot be moved. When a hero spawns, don't roll, it spawns adjacent to this model. If multiple models with this rule are in play, the player with priority chooses which model they spawn adjacent to. Yep. Heroes adjacent to this model can rig to destroy it. Specialists gain the rig bonus. If successful, remove the model from the arena. You also don't get scrapped from this because it's not an attack of any kind. Yeah. But you have to rig this one away.
Yes.
Somebody has to walk up with a wrench and basically pull the nails out, yank the back end, throw the piece of balsa wood away, and be like, can everyone stop thinking this is actually a teleporter? How is this even working? It's literally a Wile E. Coyote painting, and we're all teleporting to it.
Not only will this model have a model, not only will this thing have a model, all of these will have a model, and one of them will have 2 models.
Yeah, so Quasar asking, will this have a model? Everything you're seeing puts a model into place. So there is a surgery table model that you get in the gear expansion. There is a little gobbler model.
Yes.
There will be a decoy gate model, which, by the way, writing an art brief for someone to make a resin version of a plywood thing that's been painted to look like a fake version of something else you have a model for is super fun. Super duper fun. I'm surprised the art team hasn't come up and strangled me before. They think about it. They think about it. Let's go ahead and move on. And we saw this one. If you want to see this one in effect, watch the stream yesterday. Charles pulled one out. He had a makeshift one. They made it out of actual cardboard. Not the real model.
Danny, used his magic to make it temporary.
And they dropped it in the corner, and we never got rid of it. So the whole game, everyone was just yeeting down to the corner of one of the ships. Let's go ahead and look at the security anchor. So this one costs 3. I love that it looks like a little Jack in the Box.
It is hilarious.
You know, you just do 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 do, and then it pops up, and what you get is a hypervelocity turret. Let's go ahead and pop that one up, Tony. So this one is animate, which means it joins your crew. It is destructible, which means it can be attacked. Again, you see these rules reused over and over again. So once you've read them once, you don't have to reread these big blocks of text. This is just covering the core rules of what they do.
Exactly.
Def 2/6, 2 stamina, killable, and it's got auto fire, which could be brutal. So it says when an enemy ends its movement within 3 spaces of this model, roll 1 power die. The enemy suffers damage equal to the number of strikes rolled. You drop this where you want, and it just makes this big zone of if you come near here, you're going to take damage. But also, if you can move someone else,
Yes.
or someone else makes the mistake of accidentally moving. Let's say Eris Swift Hunters, and she moves her 3 spaces, and then she forgets and lands near the hypervelocity turret. Take your damage. Let's say you beat back somebody, and you push them a couple spaces, and they end that movement within 3 spaces of the turret kicks up and is like, and as you'll see at the, Tony, go back to the gear card real fast. I want to point out something on the box. In the bottom right corner, it says, warning, contents loud and dangerous.
Oh, this art is fantastic.
It's one of my...
All of this art direction has been the best, the happiest I've ever seen you sitting at a computer.
I just write things and then they draw them and they don't tell me no. There was a regular gear card coming. It's with the Wastelander. I was going to share this story real fast, Tony. When we go over the Wastelander, the Ronin of Free that's coming later, his gear card is called Invisible Sneakers. And most of my art briefs are pretty like, okay, it should look like this, and this is the idea, and here's the text that should be on it. So when you see things like the instant pillar that says insert coin and run, and the gobbler now doesn't explode, that's all like text I wrote in to drop in there. And then Mike Valancourt, our art director, is really great at what it does, and he'll like come back and be like, what if we do this? And we'll like bounce stuff back and forth off each other and just come up with these really awesome things that you end up seeing on these cards. That's the fun collaboration. But I send these to Mike, and Mike comes back to me and we go back and forth. For the Invisible Sneakers, which are the gear card that comes with the Wastelander, I wrote, these are literally invisible sneakers. Good luck. I haven't seen the art. I haven't heard back on those yet, so I don't know if Mike hates me and doesn't do anything about those yet. Let's go back to the cards real fast. We have a question from Acrostor. Let's see what it says. Does teleporting into the field count as movement?
So being placed is not the same as advancing.
No, yes. Spawning in or being placed by like Dreyfus's Leap or any other like Leadfoot's Ride Along, those are placement effects, which are different than movement. And movement specifically is the only thing that triggers the turret.
Right, yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and jump over to the experimental transporter. Now this one is a little bit different. During this model's activation, you could place a pair of wormholes, one in an occupied space adjacent to the model placing them, and one up to 5 spaces away.
Yes.
Okay, Tony, before we even bring up the next card, this is the weirdest thing we've done in Riot Quest.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it produces a lot of weird effects. Super fun weird effects.
So let's just bring the rules up, and then I'll kind of just talk about what it means.
Before we start, Striker, I literally have no clue what to do with Hungerford ever. Ever. Period.
It's not situated.
We sit in the same office, and I look over at him. I am confused, and then I look back at my computer, and I move on. Because that is Hungerford.
Confusion is my confection. Let's go look at the wormholes. So this is something you'll get 2 models of, and that is very important. This is one we also, if you don't paint any of your models, let's just say you don't paint them, I do recommend you paint something or indicate that the 2 wormholes are yours.
Yes.
Because multiple players playing with multiple wormholes gets super weird, super duper fast. It's indestructible.
Yes.
It has paradox, which basically says it's like inanimate. It says it's not an enemy, it's not a hero, it doesn't join anybody's crew, but it says it does not occupy a space.
Right.
The wormholes act like a token.
Yes.
Effectively. So you can stand in the same space as a wormhole. You can freely move through them. It has gateway. I'm just going to read gateway out, and then we'll get through it. When this model is put into play, it is paired with an identical model. That's why you get 2 wormholes.
Sure.
Treat these spaces containing each paired model as adjacent to each other when moving, determining weapon range, or counting spaces for abilities. A model adjacent to this model can rig to destroy it. Specialists gain the rig bonus. If successful, remove both paired models from the arena. Okay. There's a rules pamphlet that comes inside the gear expansion that kind of goes over each of the gear cards, and it's one piece of paper, like less than notepad sized.
Yeah.
Page 1 is the basic, like, oh, these are these. And then you flip the other page, and the other page is just the wormhole.
Yes.
So what this means is you have a wormhole here and a wormhole here, and these spaces, no matter how many are in between, are considered adjacent to each other. So a character can move onto wormhole 1 as their first movement, spin movement 2, and be at the other wormhole, and then move out of it. You can shoot through them. So let's say Dez is standing next to a wormhole, and her range on her gun is 3. You could count 1 from Dez to the first wormhole, 2 to the other wormhole, and then 3 away. Let's say you have an enemy near wormhole. You can beat back somebody through the wormhole and out the other side. Your abilities count. So you have a friendly next to 1. Your Bam Fist can run up to the other and empower them if you use the range properly. Yes. You would count 2 spaces. So basically, you just count the space from one wormhole to the other. It's just you go 1 instead of it being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. It changes the game in a very, very, very significant way. It lets you do some truly absurd things in Riot Quest that are really fun. And when you play a 4-player game and everybody brought wormholes, it's just craziness.
It's madness.
Yeah.
It's absolute madness.
But you always have to go through the paired wormhole. So if there are 8 wormholes in play, 4 players would each have 2, only the 2 that each player put in play are paired. So it's not like this one can go to any other wormhole.
Yeah,
it only goes to another one in play.
Much.
Thought about it, decided no.
Yeah.
No, thank you. So this is by far the weirdest one. It's also the one that lets people do, again, Crawtooth with telescoping blades, just flinging through there. And it lets you pull off really crazy tricks. You're like, I need to grab the bomb and go plant it to finish the bombing run bounty, but it's way over there. But I can drop the wormhole here and here, and then have like Bella, who's super fast. And then say you put hyperspring boots on her, run through one wormhole, grab the bomb, jump back through the wormhole, come out, and then get over to the target and do all kinds of nutty stuff.
So I've never gotten to set this fully up, but one day I want Dez standing next, or putting down a wormhole on top of somebody, connecting that wormhole to a space adjacent to the turret, and then Best Boy 9000 is just wandering around that turret, just waiting, waiting for people to jump through the wormhole and die.
So Steve has a great question. So if someone is standing on a wormhole, they're standing on one of them, and gubbins them, you are attacking up to 14 spaces because the 2 spaces are adjacent to each other. The 2 spaces are adjacent to each other. Yeah. They're not the same space. Yes. So what you would hit would be gubbin, all the spaces immediately around gubbin, and then the wormhole space on the other side.
Not quite.
Not literally. So if gubbin's standing on one wormhole, it costs him 1 space of movement to then move to the space with the other wormhole. He doesn't immediately move off of it. It originally worked like what you were thinking, and it was too much.
Yes.
So instead, just think of it like this. Take the space with one wormhole and the space with the other wormhole and connect those hexes. Yes. Like they're next to each other, not overlapping each other.
Somebody asked another question. If my opponent and I both have wormholes, can you connect them to the same hex? Absolutely.
Yeah,
they're tokens.
These don't take up barrier spaces. They're basically tokens represented by miniatures. So go nuts. Like you could have one hex with four wormholes in it that all go to different spaces.
Yeah. If for some reason you and your opponents decide to work together, you could walk into one wormhole, into another wormhole, through another wormhole, out of space, just somewhere else in the world, and who knows?
Yeah. I like weird brain puzzles, and I like introducing weird things that are still functional, and the mini wormhole definitely does that. It is the one piece of gear, I think, that makes people stop and actually take just a little bit longer on their turn, where not a ton of time, but they look at the possibilities and they're like, wait, what? And then eventually you rig them and destroy them because you realize they're causing a mess of everything.
Oh yeah, we needed this technology to make the next map, but I think that's all that we can say about the next map
Well,
so far.
so Temple Concord got, we don't have an image of it to show, but Temple Concord got solicited for May, and all I'll say about it is that it is a split 3-level like RPG dungeon style map where each level is completely contained. You can't there's no hexes in between, so you can't shoot somebody across. Right. But there's basically stairs, ladders, and chutes that you can let you traverse one level to the next. It will have a rule insert in it just to cover the way that you go up and down stairs and how you can attack people up and down them. And they're different than wormholes. Yeah. I will say that you can't just shoot up the stairs and count a whole bunch of spaces. Yeah. We wanted it to work differently, but it's very simple. I will say that the stairs, ladders, and chutes are very simple in how they work on the map compared to the chaos you can create with the wormholes. Yeah. So let's see if we have any questions to hit up before we get out of here. Let's see, Steve has a question. The text is kind of small today, so Steve, I'm going to try and read what you said. Is it paired with an identical model? Can your opponents in play gain control of an identical model? No.
Gate count.
Can your opponents in play? Tony, read it to me. It's very small, please, sir.
I have to get over here. All right, so. It is paired with an identical model, talking about the gate. Can your opponents in play gate count as an identical model, or does it need to be paired with one of the one placed in play at the same time?
Yeah, the wormholes are only ever paired with the two that were put into play by a player. Right. That's why I mentioned that you want to try and probably paint them or put some kind of color on them so that you and your opponents look different. Your pair of wormholes does not connect to your opponent's pair of wormholes. They are all two individual wormhole entry exit points.
Yeah, it's like when you have a rule that refers to this model, it's referring to that model, but this thing means this model actually refers to these two things, kind of.
Yep.
It's a little weird, but yeah.
Any word on a bad guy, good guy list? I'll see about posting something in the Riot Quest Facebook when I have a little bit of extra time about the good guy, bad guy list. I will tell you that the first starter, the Mayhem block starter, that's the one with Eris and Dreyfus, those are all good guys. And that the next starter, the Wintertime Wasteland starter, is a bad guy starter. Yep. So Boomhowler the Destroyer will be in it. Stone Cold Black Bella will be in it. And then it's 3 new characters that are all villains and are all part of Boomhowler's crew. And they are not the main villain crew, which is Boomhowler, Bella, Harlow, James, and Gorman. Okay. Cool. Let's see if we have any other questions. I looked at the decoy gate card art, and does the Iron Kingdoms have their own store? I remember the Riot Quest timeline's a little different. You know, who knows what happened out there?
You know, that decoy gate might be in a very difficult to pronounce word, but you know, it's a decoy gate.
The mighty Getz, Matt Getz, one of my legitimate favorite people in the world, says, "Can I get a giant in Riot Quest?" As a model, Matt, I think that'd be difficult because the base size for that would obviously have to be huge, maybe even bigger given the size of the giants in the setting. So I don't know that would be a playable model. What I could see happening is a map in the future that has a dead giant on it.
Oh, yeah.
That you can walk on it as some of the hexes, or being that I already want to do a dead dragon hex map at some point in the future, maybe we could introduce hazard hexes and there be a giant off the edge of the map and he's slamming his fist down, and the hexes where his fist is slamming down are hazard hexes you could step in, and you take a point of damage if you walk into them or something like that. So I think we could put a giant into the game in some way, but not necessarily a model, just because I don't think it's necessarily built for it.
Yeah, a thing taking up multiple hexes, just, it's real messy to even start to think about it.
Get says, a short giant. Those are called people.
Also, Ogrins, which is, there is going to be one in the next block, at least.
There's at least 2 so far.
2. Haha.
At least 2? At least 2.
Yeah.
I was about to say at least 3, but at least 2. All right, I think that's most of the main questions we're going to hit for right now. So, thanks for the music there, Tony. Thanks for hanging out with us. Come hang out tomorrow. Tony, we're painting Chuck Dogwood on the Get Your Paint On, I do believe. Yeah. So come watch Jordan's show. If you've got any hobby questions you want to ask, kind of have those ready. That starts at 10 a.m. Pacific. We will see you all then. And we, of course, we'll see you next week for the next Dev Chat. Until next time, everybody, goodbye.
Bye-bye. Oh, so good.
Always Star Wars.